Welcome everybody to the Hilton Coliseum here in Ames, Iowa, on the campus of Iowa State University for the Women's Big 12 Gymnastics Championships. Here this evening, Iowa State, Missouri, Nebraska, and the University of Oklahoma. Now the Cornhuskers have won this event 6 years in a row. Can they do it a seventh? Hi everybody, I'm John Neighbor and welcome to this competition. A very exciting team battle in store for us. Joining me here in the booth is the one-time all-around national champion and conference all-around champion at the Big Ten level, Robin Hubner. And Robin, do we think the Cornhuskers can go 7 in a row?
I do think they can. They certainly have that rich conference history behind them, and the fact that they are the top-ranked team here tonight, I think certainly bodes well for them. If they put it all together, they can do it. But I look for a very serious challenge from Iowa State. They're an up-and-coming team. They've had a little bit of an up-and-down season so far, but just a couple of weeks ago, they pulled it all out. 24 routines for 24, no mistakes, and scored a 197, which is something that Nebraska has yet to do.
Now in the all-around competition, the battle for the outstanding gymnast of the meet, Heather Brink has won this the last 2 years, a co-victor last year. The possibility of going 3 in a row, something no conference athlete has ever done. Can Nebraska's Brink do it again?
I think she can. She is certainly a strong talent on every single event. I think if you talk to any athlete here tonight or coach, they will tell you that she is an awesome gymnast, and I expect her to pull out at least a couple of individual victories, and in fact possibly the all-around as well. But I do look for Betsy Hom from Iowa State, a transfer from Florida, to do very well indeed. She won the balance beam national title as a freshman, and so it takes a lot to do that as a freshman. She is an incredible talent, very good mentally up on all 4 events, so I look for a good challenge from her. And a couple of Oklahoma athletes as well, senior Amber McCracken and Leticia Ishii, who's just a redshirt freshman.
So a great team battle as well as individual competition. That will begin when rotation 1 starts here at the Women's Big 12 Gymnastics Championships. Stay with us as we bring you back here to Ames, Iowa in just a minute. Welcome back everyone to the Hilton Coliseum here in Ames, Iowa. We're getting ready to begin rotation number 1 of 4 rotations in the Women's Big 12 Championships. And on the basis of a random draw, the schools have elected to begin on each apparatus as you see on your screen. The Cornhuskers starting in the vaulting area, Iowa State on the bars, the Sooners over on the beam, and the Tigers of Missouri will be performing with the music over on the floor exercise. Each team performing 6 routines, 6 athletes for each rotation. The top 5 scores will count, so you can't afford to lose more than 1 routine to a bad performance per rotation.
That's right. Preferably, they'd like to have no falls, but 5 scores, as you say, count toward the team total. So there's just a slim margin of error there.
Very much a team sport, this gymnastics. It's amazing how often the athletes are popping each other on the shoulders or the...
You're going to see a lot of that tonight. A lot of team camaraderie in the college ranks, which is great to see because a lot of these athletes come from the club level where they are strictly as individuals. So this is a fun chance for them to compete as a team.
The athletes have presented themselves to the officials, marking the beginning of their routines. Chalking up. You can tell by the hand grips, we're going over to the uneven bars. This is Dina Albacher, a sophomore out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She'll be beginning her team's performance. We're watching the Iowa State Cyclones.
Just a little bit of background about the scoring on all 3 events except for the vault. Routines start from a 9.5. The gymnast has the opportunity to add 5/10 in bonus by doing difficult skills or tough combinations of skills. And she has a rough start right to begin with.
It was a form break on top of that giant swing, wasn't it?
The Jaeger somersault, which came off all right, but with that tough start, she's got to regroup. And here comes her dismount. Toe on with a half, with a nice landing, but that break will cost her.
So she recovered nicely for the dismount.
Working the handstand position. And the toe on, toe off with a half. And of course, we're always looking for stuck landings because 1 step is 1/10 of a point. So you really lose tenths here and there by taking those little bitty steps.
We move over to our coverage on the floor exercise. Here is Laura Forbes from Missouri. Laura, a freshman out of Columbia, has never missed on floor X this her freshman year. She was a walk-on to the university's program, and they say a very hard worker. We're going to go a little bit Celtic here.
Floor exercise, one of the favorite events for the fans and also for the gymnasts, because there's a little bit more chance to be more expressive. Playing to the crowd certainly doesn't hurt.
It's important to smile. This is one of the few sports where smiling is great.
It's encouraged. Yeah, because, you know, certainly there's no requirement of that. You know, it's not part of the judging criteria, but it does help in the overall impression of the routine.
Laura can be proud. Once again, a solid routine, and a quick congratulations from Coach Rob Drass. We go back to Dina Albracher, who we saw on the uneven parallel bars, earned a 9.65. That's her first score for her team, and of course you want to get that first one high, because it's from there that the other judges, the other scores come in.
It does set the table for the rest of the routine, the tone. So starting off with a good score, no fault, is really, really important.
Here's Coach Amy Pyle, not only the head coach of the Iowa State team, but also the host of this year's competition. And she spoke to us earlier about having the meet at home being somewhat of a hidden advantage. Coach Amy Pyle.
I truly think it can. One, it inspires the athletes to do a better job and just to reach down as deep as they possibly can and get every possible 10th out of every routine. And I think that it can influence the judges. You know, you finish with this huge roar. It can help.
And here is Kelly Moore, one of Amy Pyle's athletes, one of the top performers, getting ready for her uneven bars routine.
The bar coach, Lou Ball, for this team, he says that all of the athletes on his team have upgraded their difficulty this year. You're going to see some big release moves, E value, dismount, E being the toughest grade of skill you can do. And he says his team is very deep.
Indeed they are. Plenty of athletes can fill in as she smiles to the judges, getting ready to mount the bars. She's the team captain for the Cyclones.
Typical bar routine contains at least 10 skills. You want to be moving, never stopping, going through handstand positions nicely. There's a big release move, done very nicely. One thing about Kelly, her form is impeccable, and that certainly helps.
This is her final gymnastics competition in her home arena.
Very bittersweet for her.
You remember, Robin, your last competition?
Oh, I certainly do.
Oh.
Beautiful routine.
She's happy. And boy, so is the team. Kelly Moore out of Bellevue, Nebraska. Our rock on the beam, and also good here on the bars.
One thing about her that is so impressive is the form. She rarely pointed toes, straight legs, legs together. It's those little things that really do count. And of course, her difficulty is right up there too. Looking for big release moves, but here she is gearing up for the dismount. The dismount made famous by Nadia Comaneci, and just one small step on the landing.
Big smile. Over on the floor exercise, we saw Laura's score come up as a 9.7. That's a good opener for Missouri. So the routines continue here in rotation number 1. We'll be back with more of the Women's Big 12 Gymnastics Championships as our coverage continues. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone, for more coverage of the Big 12 Women's Gymnastics Championships here in Iowa. Getting ready now to mount the bars is Betsy Hom, the Florida transfer this year, who redshirted, or excuse me, didn't redshirt, but was injured last year. As a freshman, was a national champion on beam, and she's very much in the running for the all-around competition as she gets ready for her first of 4 rotations. Betsy, a junior out of Waukesha, Wisconsin, set the school's all-around record earlier this year at 39.6.
She's ranked first in the conference on this event. You're going to see why. Big release move there. Huge. Almost looked like she was going to miss the bar. She completed it so far away, but that's what you want to see, that big stretch. Wrapping up for dismount. Beautiful double layout. That's a way to get them going here.
No question about it. It should be noted that the athlete who preceded her, Sarah Sanderson, did fall off the apparatus, so that'll probably be Iowa State's only for her big mistake on the previous performance. But Betsy turned in a great one.
She sure did. Working some good pirouettes there. The big release move finishes in a great stretch position. Requirement to move down to the low bar, which she does. Good giant swings, good body position, and that beautiful double layout and a stuck landing.
Stellar. Absolutely remarkable. And so now our cameras are moving over towards the balance beam where Amber McCratton. It's a big smile for the judges. Amber, a senior out of Olaf, Kansas, is #1 in the conference on bars and floor exercise. Here she is performing on the beam. Last year she was the conference gymnast of the year. And this year has been even better. She's set career highs on all 4 apparatus. So she's having a wonderful senior year.
Some of the things to watch for on the balance beam. You can look for a tumbling series, which includes 2 flight elements. For example, back handspring layout, something like that. A series of dance elements. And then a series that combines both of those, the tumbling and the dance.
Amber tied for 3rd in the all-around at last year's conference championship, so she should be considered as a candidate here.
There was one of her combinations of dance elements. And here's her tumbling element, flip-flop, flip-flop. Yep. Slight little bobble there, but she holds it together. Little full turn, that's also a requirement on the beam. You miss one of the requirements and you lose 2/10 of a point. So it's something that these routines are obviously gone over very carefully prior to competition to see that they meet the full value.
When you perform on the beam, does it sort of come as rote after you've done it so many times? It's muscle memory, or do you have to concentrate about your next move?
I think it's really up to each individual athlete. For some, they're just going to be on sort of automatic pilot out there, and others really do need to say, I need to squeeze my legs together here, or I need to keep my body straight here. So I think it really depends on the athlete. And she wraps up with a full twist. Not the toughest dismount you're going to see. One thing you'd like to see at the top collegiate level is a tougher dismount that is equal to the rest of the routine. But that's not going to cost her anything. In the layout walkout, you could see her left shoulder was just a little bit down, but she recovered nicely, and that's the main thing. And the full twist, like I said, not the toughest dismount, but executed just fine.
And one of the assistant coaches, a quick hug and consoling her. I don't think she certainly wasn't pleased with that bobble, but the score was not or will not be that bad. As we go over to one of the great performers of the meet, Heather Brink from Nebraska.
Now each vault has an assigned value, and the vault she's going to do is worth a 10. So done perfectly, she would score that, and she has done that this season. It's a Yurchenko layout, 1.5, big step on the landing. She's going to want to improve on that on her second go around. Each gymnast gets 2 shots at it. They can do 2 different vaults or the same one, whatever they choose.
And the high score counts.
Correct. Her vault is a Yurchenko vault, which is round off entry, meaning round off to the board.
This, of course, her first attempt.
Right. Good position on the horse, great body position, but just a little too much get up and go. Didn't quite have the control that she really needed to have to stick the landing.
Is it easy to make adjustments between vaults? I mean, less than 30 seconds separate these two attempts.
Well, having done them so many times, hopefully she will be able to do that with the experience she has. And here she goes. Oh! And she did it. I'm not sure if it was easy for her, but it sure looked that way.
Coach Dan Kendig, first on his feet to give her a hug. Last year's National Coach of the Year. And it looks like Heather Brink has her eyes set clearly on that all-around title.
She nailed this vault. Great body position in the 1.5 twist. Those feet didn't move. And you can't ask for a better landing than that. She knew it. She knew she hit it.
And so a very excited Heather Brink looking to three-peat, if you will. Earlier we saw Amber McCracken doing her beam routine, and her score has just come in 9.575. Perhaps not as good as she would like, but it didn't hurt Oklahoma. And at this point, the team score is what they're most concerned about. And as Heather Brink takes off the tape around her wrists, her score comes up, but look at that. Couldn't be closer to a 10.
Could not, and very well-deserving score. I don't think she could have done that vault much better, if at all better.
Looked like Mary Lou Retton to me.
You got it.
And so in rotation number 1, she puts a score on the board that will very likely be an event winner for her. Moments ago, Shannon Brown completed her performance in the floor exercise. One of the athletes for the Missouri Tigers. She is a senior out of Queen Creek, Arizona, and this is her routine. Beginning, of course, with the Tiger Roar.
Oh, yes. Floor exercise requirements kind of similar to the balance beam. You're going to see a mix of tumbling, of course, in the dance. Some of the requirements are combining those tumbling and dance skills. Got to see some big leaps with nice amplitude. Certainly you want to pick music that's fitting for the athlete's style. And tumbling run number 2 is front tumbling, full twisting front into a punch front, or tuck front rather.
I was delighted to read in her bio that she wants to be a police officer or a firefighter. Loves the idea of having adrenaline pumping through her veins.
And I can't think of a better place or a more appropriate place to get the adrenaline going. In the middle of an arena with 4 events going on at once. And her third tumbling run wraps it up with a double twist. Nice finish.
And with the flip of a ponytail, her routine came to an end. The score for Shannon Brown, 9.8. A very respectable performance. We're going to take a short break as rotation number 1 comes to a close. Stick with us because, folks, here at the Gymnastics Championships, there's more. Welcome back, everybody, for more of women's gymnastics here at the Conference Championships at the Hilton Coliseum in Ames, Iowa. Now remember, folks, Jim Rome tells it like it is here on the Nightline of the sports talk shows. It's every weeknight, 6:30 and 11:30 on Fox Sports Net. Be sure to check your local listings if you're having difficulty finding Jim Rome. Actually, you just have to open your ears and he'll find you. Getting ready now to begin our rotation number 2. The teams have rotated around the floor. Missouri now on vault. Nebraska doing the bars beam with Iowa State, and Oklahoma on the floor. Our attention now swings over to Amy Ringo, getting ready to perform over on the uneven bars. Ringo, a junior from Phoenix, is the only junior on the Cornhusker team, which means she will be the only senior next year. A lot of leadership rests on her shoulders. I was delighted to hear that at the farewell senior banquet, Amy composed and read a poem with a stanza on each one of the graduating seniors. I just think those are the moments you remember years after you.
And Coach Dan Kendig said that it was just a very emotional speech. So
before we get to that routine, though, Sissy Huey getting ready now to mount the beam. Sissy from Iowa State, and her team did a very good 5 routines in the prior rotation. So a possible upset in the making. Sissy Huey, a sophomore, had a hurt elbow, tore her ligament last year. This year, tore a big left toe and had to suffer from some kidney stone problems.
She's had it all.
The local paper called her a star-crossed talent.
Yes. Perfect start, that front semi mount. Real tough to land, and she just made it look simple. Coach Amy Pyle said her beam team has been kind of hot and cold on this event all year. They have a lot of really great athletes on this event, but they have yet to really put it all together. So they're looking to do that tonight.
If you were a coach, Robin, would you rather have a consistent 9.8 or a sporadic 9.9?
Oh boy, I think I'd have to opt for consistency, because those sporadic routines are what make you go gray.
Early, yeah.
Yes. Nice amplitude on those jumps.
Sissy finished third in the all-around at this conference meet last year.
There's her combination of a dance and tumbling element. And one of the requirements of the beam, you got to get it down on the beam. With all levels of it, if you will. And rounding things out with a flip-flop, full twisting gainer. Nice routine.
Way to go, Sissy. Big dismount.
The flip-flop into the gainer full. Off to the side and a big smile.
Before we came over to the beam, we saw Amy Ringo preparing for her uneven bars routine. Let's take a look at it on tape now. Ringo, who has scored a 9.9 in earlier bar routines.
If Nebraska has a weak event, this may be it. But they are strong on all events. It's just a matter of whether they hit. Swinging very nicely so far. One big step on the landing. Not the stick she was looking for, but I think she has to be overall pretty pleased with that routine.
And to get it behind her now, she can focus on her next performance. Is going to come up in the third rotation, a 9.825 for Ringo in rotation number 2. So the Nebraska Cornhuskers, are they holding on to their lead? We'll find out as rotation 2 continues after this.
Hi, I'm Kelly Moore, Iowa State Gymnastics. Stay tuned for I'm up next on my favorite balance beam.
Welcome back, John Neighbor and Robin Humner, as we continue our coverage of the Big 12 Championships. Women's gymnastics, all-around favorite at the start of the meet, Heather Brink. Went off to an explosive start in the vault, earned a 9.975 to give her an early lead. She's preparing now for the bars routine.
She took third on this event last year and won it the 2 previous years, so she's got quite a history behind her on this event. Ranked third in the conference right now in bars. Nebraska did have a fall in the athlete up before Heather. A.J. Lamb took a fall from the bars, so Nebraska really can't afford another one because they would have to count that toward the team total. Nice pirouette, beautiful. Big release act, caught her. Looks like she caught the right heel. That's going to cost her a little bit. Oh. This is a tough break for this team, because now routines with a fall will have to count for the team total.
Looked like she was a little distracted.
Perhaps.
In the early going. And that'll hurt her in the all-around standings as well.
And no question, Nebraska may have just opened up the door for Iowa State. And let's see if we can find out what went wrong. There, her swing was completely off after taking that heel touch on her big release move.
That counts as a fall when the feet touch the mat, doesn't it?
I believe so. And she recovers nicely with the full twisting double back dismount. But by then, really tough break for her. You could tell she's
big
disappointed with that.
While we continue to calculate individual scores, we can show you the standings at the completion of the first rotation. Nebraska just the barest margin ahead of Iowa State, the host team. Missouri, a surprise third place in the early going, and Oklahoma bringing up the rear. But a very highly contested battle here for the conference championship. Iowa State nipping at the heels of Nebraska. If anybody's going to take advantage of Heather Brink's mistake on the bars, it's Betsy Hom. The Iowa State transfer is coming in now for her beam routine. She's got a very big trick that she occasionally turns on beam. Well, I wonder if she'll include it today. She was the national beam champion at the NCAA championships 2 years ago. One of the ingredients they say that she brings with her to competition is extreme toughness. Coach said she can have a bad warm-up and still compete well. Shake it off.
And that takes a special talent, because some of the athletes, when they warm up a skill and it does not go right, they feel like that's sort of an omen that it's not gonna come off for them in competition. So to be able to overcome that is a big deal.
Do you think she's even aware of what went on for Heather Brink over on the bars, that the door has been opened?
You know, it's hard to say. From what her coach says about her getting into a zone when she's competing, I'm willing to bet that she was not paying any attention to what was going on over the bars.
She looks very controlled and not a bobble on the beam. Wow.
Two very well stuck layout walkouts. Showing nice amplitude on the straddle jumps. So far, virtually unruffled up there.
Wow.
Nice combination there.
She looks very poised.
She does, and here comes her dismount, 2 flip-flops, and a double tuck. Good solid routine.
Amy Pyle, the first with the hug. Betsy Hom, finally smiling at the end of her routine. And a good one it was.
Here's the 2 flip-flops into the dismount. She could have used just a little bit more height. But the landing was right on, and Coach Amy Pyle very pleased.
You're looking at Leticia Ishii, and she is a young up-and-comer who will probably earn the Newcomer of the Meet award. Her coach, Becky Buick, told us that Leticia Ishii's family was a bit hesitant on her leaving Brazil to come to Oklahoma. A wonderful story.
Leticia's father brought her to school from Brazil, and we had a very serious talk about him leaving his daughter in the United States. He was not apprehensive, but you know, as any parent would be. And he finally told me, and very serious, he said, you know, Ishii means rock, and my child will be the rock. And I said, she'll be the rock of the team, and really she is. She's quite something. Academically, athletically, she's a coach's dream.
Leticia Ishii getting ready to perform on the floor exercise. Her coach told us about how her family was concerned that she would be moving to Oklahoma from Brazil. And now let's see if Ishii can be the rock on the floor. She rock hard lands that one.
Oh, beautiful opening tumbling run. Back in the other direction with some front tumbling, full twisting front.
Shishi earning academic awards as well as earning the Big 12 Gymnast of the Week award this year. A big asset for the incoming freshman.
She's going to play a vital role in the future of this team. There's no question about that. Having so much poise, so young.
Her first year this year, she's earned 4 all-around titles in competition. Scored a 39.65 on her all-around, her high score.
And nice solid double twist to wrap it up. That's a nice exercise. Becky Buick happy with that one.
Rock solid for the Rock. Moments ago, Kelly Moore performed on the balance beam. The senior told us how difficult it is to compete on the beam, especially when other distractions in the arena might pose a problem.
I actually get in a zone. I never hear the music. I don't hear anything. I used to tell my dad I couldn't hear floor music going on, and then I could hear my coach, you know, go, or, you know, good. You know, you could hear things like that, but you couldn't hear music which was blaring or the crowd screaming. So I get in a zone, and it's usually just me, the beam, and sometimes my coach.
So let's take a look at her routine from moments ago on the balance beam.
Kelly is the defending tri-champion on this event. As you saw on the uneven bars, she's got great form. Now, she amazingly pulled that off. There was a little bit of a bobble there. She had a little trouble with one of her feet there, getting the feet placement in the middle of that tumbling run. And as you can imagine, being in that position when you're moving that fast can be a real problem, but she held on.
That's a nice move. Bringing
a little bit of the uneven bars to the balance beam.
Very dramatic. It's nice to see, at least it appears that she's having fun in her final meet here at the Hilton Coliseum.
Except for that tiny little error in her tumbling sequence so far, really a nice set and just a great finish.
And the score for Kelly Moore, a 9.85 on the balance beam. Let's take a look at a routine that occurred earlier. Amber McCracken from the Oklahoma team on floor exercise. Mentioned earlier, she finished 3rd in the all-around last year.
Perfect beginning. She sets the tone right there with that tumbling run, double pike. Big leaps. And Amber's second run. She takes it front, forward, with a full twist right into a front. The moves are very clean. She leaves very little opportunity for the judges to take deductions.
I like the way she smiles before she gets ready to do one of those.
Before she takes that big breath for the final run. And that's a great routine. She'll score well with that.
And the scores, as you see it on the screen, a 9.9, certainly going to help the Oklahoma Sooners. This marks the halfway point of the Big 12 Women's Gymnastics Championships. 2 rotations down, 2 to go. Be sure to stick around. There's more. Welcome back now for the start of rotation number 3. The Women's Conference Championships here in the Big 12 at Ames, Iowa. as the teams have rotated once again. Oklahoma now on the vault, Missouri in the bars, the Cornhuskers on the beam, the defending champions, and Iowa State on floor. And now just hopping on the beam, Heather Brink, who is our pre-event favorite. In the all-around, she's the defending all-around champion, but on the bars, her last rotation had a bit difficulty. Let's see if she can rally here, Robin.
So far, she's doing the job. You know, when you have a break like that, you just have to put it behind you, and if you're a seasoned competitor, you will do that. And I don't have any doubt that she'll be able to just move on. The balance beam is a very good event for Nebraska, so after having kind of a tough time on the bars, if they do hit beam, they may not give up as much ground as they may have thought they did on the uneven bars.
The disappointing score for Brink on the bars of 9.45. She has some making up to do, if you will.
And certainly that hurts her all-around chances, as you mentioned before. And the dismount is a very well done double back. And see, look, the pro that she is, she's well past the uneven bars, and she's moved on and made it work on the balance beam. She gets really nice height, good tuck position, and she knows that
so as she waits for her score, we're looking at Mariana Gonçalves over on the vault area. The Oklahoma Sooner, a sophomore out of Brazil, known mostly for her bars routine.
She's going to be doing that Yurchenko or round-off entry vault that we saw earlier in layout position. She finished a little bit low. The body was a little bit low on the landing. And let's take a look at what went wrong just a little bit. She had to pike down and take that one step forward. Now she is capable of doing the same vault with a full twist. So whether or not she does it on the second round here or repeats the layout, we'll have to see.
It's hard to tell whether she was pleased with the first vault or not.
I would guess that she wasn't entirely thrilled. I'm sure she's done it better, but it was still a good vault. That vault that she did is worth a 9.8, so done perfectly, that would be the highest score she could get. The Yurchenko with a full is worth a 9.9, so we'll see if she does it here. Some things that you're looking for in the vault is great speed into the horse, good body position going in, and good punch off. If she does the Yurchenko full, worth the 9.9. That's definitely the harder vault, and I think the better vault as well.
Better score for her, absolutely. Seems like an awful lot of rotation for somebody in layout. A lot of speed.
She pulls it around really nicely.
So while we wait for that vault score over at the beam area, Heather Brink gets her mark of 9.875. And talk about rebounding, she did that.
You bet she did.
Over in the floor exercise moments ago, Kelly Moore, who finished second in the floor last year. Let's take a look at this routine she turned in. Remember, again, this is her senior year and her final appearance on home territory.
And the floor coach, KJ Kindler, says this is probably one of the most artistic routines you're going to see. And most fun. Nice 2.5 twist. That $1 million smile. Kindler says she really wanted to add energy and improve the endurance of her athletes this year. And it's evident Kelly has more than enough energy.
Kelly Moore.
Home crowd very much behind her on this routine.
This is one of the reasons I like college floor exercise more than Olympic floor exercise. These young ladies are really selling it. You know, there's a lot of fun involved.
Part of that is personality too. She is a natural, naturally very outgoing. You can just tell. Comes out in her performance. That's a great routine.
By the way, over in the vaulting area, 9.775, the score for Mariana Gonçalves. We'll be back with more action here in rotation number 3, Women's Big 12 Championships. Stick around. Welcome back. Here we are in rotation number 3. John Neighbor calling the action for the Women's Big 12 Championships. Kelly Moore just completed her floor exercise routine, and the score comes up at 9.875. Robin Hubner alongside as we're watching over in the vault area. Ginger Russell getting ready for Oklahoma. But before we bring you that, here's Amber McCracken, who has done a 10.0 vault in the past. The Oklahoma Sooners currently in 3rd or 4th place at this point in the rotation. It's hard to tell. Amber, who made a run for the all-around title last year, is still in the running here. You see the coach giving her some last-minute instructions. She's getting ready for vaults.
Taking in those final details to try to make it all come together. The vault she does, handspring front pipe with a half, and she also does a layout front with a half. I'm guessing she's going to do the pike first. And if that goes as planned, then she's going to take on the more difficult vault. Both are worth a 10, so point-wise, they're the same, but certainly the layout front is more difficult to do.
It should be noted, Robin, that Amber has not lost a single vault all season, but for one, where she finished 2nd. This is her event.
Handspring pike with a half. Tough to say that one step back is going to cost her. Good speed to the horse, good lift, but just a little too much rotation, thus the step. And we will soon see if she's going to repeat the same vault or take it a notch higher and do the layout front with a half.
You're not allowed to change at this point. You've already submitted your 2 vaults. Not you, Robin, but of course Amber has.
Well, Coach Becky Buick says this layout front with a half is something that took her just a month to learn. And we'll see which way she goes. Teammates giving her that last-minute encouragement. She needs a lot of speed. Lots of rotation.
Oh.
No. She looked just a little bit off.
Let's go to the bars as Shannon Brown, one of the top all-arounders from Missouri, makes that nice grasp from well outside.
The Pike Jaeger. She broke form just a little bit. Not a big deduction. And a good finish with the double back.
It's fun how every athlete from the team gives her a little hand touch. In fact, that's one of the rules that the coach, Rob Drass, has instilled at Missouri. Call it the touch rule.
Yeah, you build that team unity that way. She's happy with that routine for sure.
At the start of this 3rd rotation, Iowa State now inched ahead of Nebraska. Oklahoma back into 3rd place. In And we go now to Betsy Hahn, who took advantage of Brink's disappointing bar routine. Betsy, the final performer for Iowa State on the floor. This routine.
And Iowa State's done very well on the floor exercise, so they could make, they could gain a little bit of ground here if Betsy Hahn hits as she's capable of. 2 quick whips into a double back. And the crowd just loves this.
Betsy was in this position last time when Iowa State had 23 out of 23 perfect routines, and she had to perform the last routine
That's
on floor.
right, and she did. We talked about her mental toughness before. She's not one to let that type of pressure get to her. Nice looking double pirouette. Nice amplitude.
Like that brass.
Oh yeah. All she's got to do is
stick it.
Finish cleanly on this last run. She's got it made, and she does. Whew.
There's a lot of touching going on there. Final performer in rotation number 3, Betsy Hahn. Moving ever closer to an all-around title, perhaps.
And maybe.
Welcome back, everybody. John Neighbor and Robin Hubner as we get ready for the beginning of rotation number 4. You're looking at Coach Amy Pyle. She's the coach of the Iowa State Cyclones and hosting this competition. She's in her 8th season as head coach here in Ames. And she's built herself quite a little powerhouse team, if I may say so myself. We're taking a look at Jessie Smith. Jessica, her leading off the team on the 4th rotation in the vault.
And Amy has to like where her team is sitting going into this 4th rotation. Well, it's a very good event for them.
And because you get a second chance.
Yes, yes.
You're not really at the whims of ill fortune.
You got it.
Running down the vaulting runway, Jessie Smith landing her first of 2 vaults here at the beginning of rotation number 4.
Actually, she opens with a tuck, handspring tuck, and the top value on that is 9.8. Let's see what went right and wrong. Pretty decent position on the horse. Really not a lot wrong with that vault at all. Really nice and clean and a good landing.
Very important, of course, to get the team to a good start. That first score usually determines the floorboard for other performers in the rotation.
It does, and sets the tone just on a emotional and psychological level, too. She's capable of doing the pike front. A little bit more difficult vault. Let's see if she pulls it off. She does pike it. And it is a little bit short. So 1 step back, about a tenth of a point deduction.
Still, good solid opener for the Cyclones.
Good pike. Just didn't have quite enough rotation to bring it around.
Over on balance beam, the Missouri Tigers are being represented by Shannon Brown.
Shannon is the defending co-champion on this event. And one strategy that coaches often use is to put their best performer or the performer who has a tendency to score higher as their last athlete. But in this case, they put Shannon up early second in the rotation. She likes going early. Doesn't like that pressure of going at the very end. Slight little balance error there. Tough jump, full turn. Shannon's teammates hoping she pulls it together.
I have to ask this question tactfully. You were on a team that was not a strong team, yet you were a strong performer. Is it difficult for Shannon, being the top performer on Missouri, they're in distant fourth, to represent yourself?
She may feel a little bit more pressure in that regard, but it's hard to say. Once again, it's going to depend on the athlete, really. She might put just a little bit more pressure on herself since she knows that she has a shot, at winning that particular event. I don't think that that's going to be the winning balance beam routine, though, tonight.
Still a good routine for Shannon Brown as we watch that dismount.
And she does a Rudy or a punch and has to jump to the side just a little bit.
As she awaits her score over there in the beam area, we swing our cameras to the uneven bars. Is Leticia Ishii, as I said, a likely newcomer of the meet, preparing for her fourth and final performance today. Good chalk on the hands. In fact, Leticia has had some pretty good scores and might be in the running in the all-around as well.
It's so hard to say at this point, that
the scores come in so late.
They do, and it literally is a sort of a four-ring circus with the four events going on at the same time, so it's hard to really get a feel for what each all-around has done.
As an athlete, you don't wait for your scores, do you? You begin thinking about the third or fourth rotation as soon as you complete the second or third one.
You've got to move on.
Here she comes.
He's very quick on the unevens.
5 feet 0 inches. That helps her on those giant slings. Oh!
That's a tough break. She just didn't have what it took to hang on that reverse hecht.
Big deduction.
It's a 5/10 of a point deduction. She's got a little time to re-chalk, regroup. Big, nice distance from the bar, nice height, but just couldn't hang on to it.
That'll take her well out of the all-around running. And you can see the way she stares into the heavens. Oh my goodness.
And she'll try to regroup.
Not only does she lose the points for the deduction on landing, but she misses out on the points she would have earned on the big trick above.
That's true.
Double whammy.
And a nice full and back out. Really nice, difficult dismount, but just a tough break on that release move.
Let's take a short moment to recap our scores after 3 of 4 rotations. Iowa State extending their lead over the Cornhuskers. So the hometown crowd given reason to cheer as we get into this 4th rotation. Missouri and Oklahoma still in 4th and 3rd, respectively. The all-around battle, Betsy Hom is still in the hunt. And she's preparing now for her 4th rotation. Betsy performing 4th in the order for the Cyclone. She's enjoying a little bit less than 2/10 of a lead over the field as she enters the 4th rotation. Look at that steely look of determination. Much more serious than most of the other athletes we've seen.
She gets into her zone known as Betsyville. She's going to do a Yurchenko half layout. Little form break, legs came apart just a little bit, but from the judge's vantage point, the side of the vault, they're not necessarily going to see that as much as we saw from the angle that we were looking from. This vault is worth a 10-0, done perfectly. She's going to try to improve on the first one. One place she could do that would be the landing. And perhaps on the form, keeping the legs together just a little bit more.
It's got to be a difficult decision whether you aim for more height or you aim for faster rotation or slower and less height.
That's right. It's a very delicate balance. Too much height or rotation and you go forward with a few steps, and too little and you go the other way.
Oh, too little. Overcompensated.
You bet she did. Just not enough rotation. But she knows she did the first vault and will score really well with that.
This is what the coach looks like as she watches her top athlete running down the ramp.
And she realizes, oh, but she knows.
We're not going to have to count that one.
She won't have to count that score. And that's what's important on this final rotation.
Amber McCracken mounting the uneven bars for Oklahoma, the defending champion in this apparatus with the conference meet.
She does two big release moves, that reverse heck that you just saw, the Kachet, and she's going to do a ganger, which she does perfectly. She had a little trouble with it in the warm-up, but not so in competition, and that's the sign of a great competitor. This is a top-notch, solid routine, pulling back out.
Big one. Big score and big smile.
Could be your winning routine. Hard to tell. At this one step is just going to be a slight deduction, but what a great routine she pulled off. Swinging very well. Good body position into the full and back out. Opens up the landing, and she knows that she did what she had to do.
One happy competitor. And you're looking at Coach Amy, no, I'm sorry, that's Becky Buick. But as we go to vault, the final performer for the host club, Shelly Kringen. I should stand corrected, Sarah Sanderson, the second to last performer on vault, setting the stage for the final performer. Look at her, barely keep her earthbound.
She's going to run back for the other one.
I think what's happening is the Cyclone are sensing victory in the team battle. They're just rolling up, they're adding up the score.
Very pretty vault, perfect in terms of the pike position, good height, good distance.
Now approaching the floor exercise, Ashley Jean Lamb, the third of three Lamb sisters to come through the Nebraska Cornhusker program. In fact, her older sister is a team manager right now. AJ, as they call her, a freshman out of Lincoln. Has a hurt foot, but still they're saying she's one of the great ones.
She has a very bright future ahead. Very talented. Strong tumbler, strong athlete. Nice triple. That's the first triple twist we've seen. Triple pike.
There's a lot of height on that one.
Oh, you bet.
You go, girl.
Nebraska absolutely needs AJ to hit every element of this routine, including the final tumbling run, because they have lost just a little bit of ground to Iowa State in the last rotation. Iowa State's lead growing just a little bit. They need to nail everything, and she does.
Coach Kendig greets his athlete at the conclusion of her routine, as does every member of the Cornhusker squad. Now, moments ago, the final performer for Iowa State in the vault, Shelly Kringer. This is her first of two. Watch how she handled it.
She does a half front pike. One step, that's worth a 10.
Just a sophomore out of Minnesota. Shelly came right back with the second ball.
I believe she's doing the same one this time around. Oh. Iowa State cracking just a little bit under the pressure, but thankfully for them, on the vault, they get 2 tries. And in every case where the athlete has fallen, they've had one other good vault that has been the one that will count toward the team total.
Well, clearly the team has rallied today with consistency on all fronts. And the final performer for Nebraska is Heather Brink, going for her 3rd consecutive all-around title. A big disappointment on the bars might make that impossible. She is the defending champion on the floor exercise. This is the last routine for the Cornhuskers here at this conference meet.
And she opens with a double layout. Dynamic opening pass.
See if she has the eye of the tiger.
So far, so good. All comes down to the final routine. I'm sure neither of the teams really know where they're at this point. Because all they can do is hope that the math adds up in their favor.
Heather began the rotation about 5/10 of a point behind the all-around leader. She's got a lot of ground to make up. But here's an event where she could score very well.
She could, but that's likely not likely to be made up in one routine. Nice high up in the sky, double tuck.
She's laughing now. She's having a great time.
She is.
And the touch rule comes into play for Heather Brink.
This is one of the higher double tucks you're going to see. And it was her final run, so it's really great to see the difficulty right up there in the final run. Sometimes you'll see the gymnast starting out really strong, and then maybe the last run will not be as strong, but not in her case. Kiss for the crowd.
Well, a remarkable athlete, Air Brink, I love it. Getting a lot of air on her final routine. The floor exercise of Heather Brink will be bringing you all the scores, both individual all around and the team turnout, as we return to Ames, Iowa in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back. I'm sure the coaches and fans were clicking their calculators to see who won this meet. The eventual margin of victory, 25 1/1000ths of a point. Watch the Iowa State women listen as the PA announcer describes who finished second.
In second place, with a score of 196.75, the University of Nebraska Cornhuskers. Ladies and gentlemen, in first place, with a score of 196.775, the Iowa State Cyclones.
Celebration for very good reason. A 6-year streak comes to an end here in Ames, Iowa. And the winning coach, Amy Pyle, and the all-around champion, Betsy Hom, are with our own Robin Hubner. Robin?
Thank you, John. We're going to start with you, Betsy. What do you think was the key here for you tonight, the key event?
Well, I think definitely vault, because I've been struggling on vault for the past couple weeks, and I knew when I hit that first vault, I could get a better all-around that way.
Did you have any idea that Heather Brink had a little bit of a slip up on the bars while you were on beam?
I had seen that, but I needed to concentrate on what I needed to do, so it wasn't really in my mind during the rest of the meet.
What's sweeter for you, the all-around title and the individual event championships, or the team title?
Definitely the team.
Right. Coach Pyle, congratulations to you. What quite a finish for you, ending that 6-year streak for Nebraska. How does it feel?
Awesome. I can't even describe it. I had no idea we were winning going to the last event.